Yes, my brother! Someone!
You know, there's a universal dread of what comes in the night.
This being has existed through time in different cultures, under different names, under different guises.
They all seem to center around some kind of a boogeyman, some kind of a creature from outside. That is El Cuco, the outsider.
One of the characteristics of this creature is that he also feeds off grief and chaos.
We know that he will go near the biggest point of grief in his target's life. And we know by this point that his target is Claude.
Cuco likes to hole up near his victims' families. If the Boltons have people buried there, we should check it out.
They're looking for graveyards, and they're looking for cemeteries. They're looking to find out where the Boltons were buried. Meanwhile, you have this sequence set in the 1940s.
That whole cave flashback was beautifully done by Dennis Lehane.
Boys?
Why that story is in there becomes one of the big questions of the episode.
George, Daddy's coming!
That's the biggest graveyard in the Bolton family.
They didn't die of like being, pummeled by boulders. They died of starvation, and it was an awful thing.
He's in there.
That's the good news and the bad news.
Y'all are thinking, yeah, we got this thing now. It's in the cave, waiting. But maybe it's waiting for you.
The time for philosophical discussions, the time for Hamlet is over. I wanted Nine to literally just reach out and grab the viewer by the throat and hold them.
As our folks have sort of descended upon the exterior of the cave to go confront El Cuco, Jack Hoskins is up in a perch above the cave. He's been sent there by El Cuco to sort of take out our people. We spend about a good 10, 12 minutes in a massive shootout.
And at the end, Jack Hoskins becomes a mass murderer.
There was an emotional scene. I mean, Andy gets killed, and Holly has to confront that grief and what happens.
It's a huge one for her because of the size of the loss that she suffers. She ends up losing a lot. You have to watch her sort of figure out how to deal with that.
No!
Whilst realizing that the reason she's feeling that way is because she was in love. That is heartbreaking, really. I've never shot anything like that. There's fire going over here, and everyone's senses are on high alert. I think we've got something great.
It's time.
When we finally confront the creature, unlike a lot of Stephen King characters, he doesn't explode into something, phantasmagorical, but in fact, is conversational.
Watch your step coming in.
In the cave, he's speaking to them. Cuco was filled with confidence, arrogance.
It's very slippery. Stay close to the walls in case you need to grab onto something.
She sees that the person is fearing falling. Something can happen when they fall, which means he can die. He can be killed.
And you must be the lovely Miss Holly.
Claude doesn't know your last name, but he thinks about you all the time.
It's Gibney.
He wonders how Holly so easily believed in him.
El Cuco seems to recognize that Holly has been a believer all along. It seems to be that he knows her a little more than others.
What is your name?
Oh, you know.
Where did you come from?
I don't remember.
What is your nature?
We're not very good at answering each other's questions, are we?
He doesn't know anything about who he is really. Am I part of a race? Or am I a singular, malevolent aberration?
The real MacGuffin there, to use a Hitchcock term, was the idea that Ralph has his gun, but he can't shoot this thing because the echoes will bring down the cave. It's in very fragile shape.
Will the real Claude Bolton please stand up?
It's a strange thing that happens when you're underground for a really long time. Because it's cold, it's wet, it's damp, there's not very much light, you can't really see very much.
This amazing ability that very few shows get to do, to go into a cave and shoot for a week and really shoot a cave for a cave. You know, it wasn't built on stage, it was all done practically.
I to survive, just like you.
Shut up.
He's got an opportunity to say, here's this internal mandate, but at the end of the day, you're food.
Why children?
Because they taste the sweetest.
Do you ever feel remorse for the egg that you've just eaten? Well, you're an egg to me.
He's been in isolation basically his entire life, so it was about this sort of lonely being finally being able to explain himself.
Paddy Considine was a really important choice. His ability as an actor to believably play a cold, calculating monster on one side and a meek, sort of down and out, kind of petty criminal on the other side. You needed an actor that could do both of those things.
Ralph sees his dead son standing sentry, basically, at his exit to the cave.
Ralph is not so convinced, and he tells him to go on. He's assuming the creature's still alive.
Always like that. When two genuine nemesis forces or get a chance to interact with each other.
I didn't know whether or not you could be killed. I thought you could be like anyone else, but I'm not so sure anymore.
There's so much that we don't know about that entity.
Sort of El Cuco morphs, and we see the faces of sort of all the people that El Cuco has been previously. It's basically like almost like El Cuco, you know, thumbing his nose at Ralph and going, you can kill me, but like, you know, this is who I've been and this is what I've done throughout my life, and I'm gonna sort of show you my cards before it happens. And Ralph kind of ends it right in the middle of that transformation. His world from now on, moving forward, is different and will always be different. And that will inform his decisions as he moves forward.
Just as Holly sees herself in Ralph, he sees himself in her.
Flying or driving?
Driving.
It's got a really old-fashioned romantic quality to it, their pairing.
You know, I wouldn't mind teaming up again. The opportunity ever arose.
They're a good team. They're a good team.
El Cuco asked me why I was so open to believing in its existence. If I had the time to think in that cave, I would have said, an outsider knows an outsider.
I love exploiting the universality of this creature. My Baba Yaga is your Cuco. So the concept of this entity that everybody thought was a fantasy is real.
How does a person cope with the unbelievable? To me, it's a very resonant subject because you can say, oh, all this is supernatural, all this is make-believe. We have to take these in and say, I can't believe this. This doesn't make any sense to me. There's no reason for it. And yet there it is.
And that's it for the creature, or is it?